With a knob and a detachable customizable screen, the Epomaker RT100 is able to set itself apart from a lot of the keyboards in the market nowadays. And what if I told you your CPU load and region temps will show up there? Now, welcome to the future, ladies and gentlemen. So to start off, this is a gasket-mounted tri-mode keyboard with a 2.4G Bluetooth and wired connection. This features a custom knob with a separate wheel and button. The battery is rated at 5,000 mAh, superb for a 98 key given all the LEDs this has got to power up. This has a full key rollover or NKRO, so you press all buttons at once and the keyboard would be able to read all keystrokes. The polling rate on this unit is at 1000 Hz on wired mode and 2.4G. I'm just unsure how much polling rate this has via Bluetooth though. Moving on to its screen, this has a 1.33-inch customizable screen via its software. I will leave links to the RT100 in the description along with the links to the Epomaker driver. I swear, customizing the screen is super easy in case you're wondering if it's too technical for you. One of the documentations you get in the box is an instruction manual only for screen customization. By the way, the unit I got is the one with sea salt silent switches. So these are factory lubed, and that's one thing off your plate when modifying. In its box, you get the keyboard, cable, keycap switch puller, documentation, its 1.33-inch USB-C screen, and a PET dust cover. The cable isn't the generic cable you get with 90% of keyboards at this price range. Some would prefer a coiled cable though, but that may add a bit of an eyesore for a table given that this keyboard is wireless. The knob has very little wobble to it and is firmly placed. The only downside is it's a fingerprint magnet. A pro here is that you do not need to remove the knob from the keyboard when taking off the top case. Another pro is you get LEDs on the knob, so those RGB LED heads, enjoy. On the top left side of the keyboard, you get a compartment for where the USB dongle is stored in, and here is where the USB-C port is for the detachable screen. The toggle switches are on top for the connection mode and OS. Now, the feet are the standard feet to keyboards with 2 levels of height to choose from. Now, I may have missed something in this section of the video, but just let me know if you have any questions down in the comment section. This has an MDA profile with a mix of dice sub and double shot PBT keycaps. Prints are huge, so those with broken eyes would love this keycap design. The stabilizers are factory lubed. Now, I would add more, but I don't think I will need to, as I don't hear any noticeable rattling. But the stock stabilizers here aren't very tight though, so you might want to replace them. If you're wondering, yes, this supports screw-in stabilizers, but for some of the stabbed keys only. As for the spacebar, shift, enter, and backspace, you don't get screw-in ports for screw-in stabs. And as for the switches, the sea salt silent switches I have were made with a PC top housing, a nylon bottom housing, and a palm stem. Palm is deemed to be the smoothest plastic that would lessen clacks or rattles better than other plastic. Speaking of clacks and rattles, let's hear what this sounds like with silent switches. This has 8 layouts, 5 color options, and 5 switches to choose from. I got myself the ANSI Retro White with sea salt silent switches. This has the usual smooth and has a very slight gloss texture we see on ABS plastic housing on keyboards. This has 0 branding except underneath, which is a huge plus for Epomaker keyboards. The case has grooves at the sides, which gives it a unique shape, not like usual keyboards you see in the market. Moving on, there are lots of RGB options to choose from in its software, and with the press of function and delete, you can quickly switch modes. And by the way, even the LED on the knob adjusts based on the RGB mode you're on. Now for the screen, this has the ability to show the time and date. Moreover, CPU load is visible here, yet the temperatures isn't the CPU's but the selected city in the software. It would have been great if the CPU temps were also here though. Now for the teardown, pry off 2 clips on one side and 1 clip on the other. 5 clips on top and the bottom of the case. Now gently lift up the top case as there are 2 cables here connected to the PCB. One for the USB pass-through and the other for the knob and power switches. Undo the locks first before pulling out the cables. Next, gently lift up the PCB and undo the last cable connected to the battery. For complete disassembly, unscrew the PCB from the plate and you're good to go. So the PC plate has flex cuts for more bounce and give, and as for the PCB, you don't get flex cuts. Speaking of the PCB, this has a 3-pin or 5-pin universal KL sockets with south-facing LEDs, and as I mentioned earlier, this supports screw-in stabilizers only for the numpad keys. Now onto the dampeners. In between the plate and PCB, this has Poron foam and IXP switch pad as well. Underneath, you get a thick foam. Probably the thickest foam I've ever seen. Now for the modifications, I wouldn't add anything to this as I do not hear case pings and the switches are silent, so even if you put Tempest tape mod here, that's not going to change anything. Now, as for the software, I will leave links in the description on where to download the Epomaker driver. Here, key binding with multiple layers, macro recording, screen customization, and advanced LED customization is available. And speaking of macros, you may add in mouse buttons for them for better versatility. You may also access macros made by other Epomaker users, including their screen designs, keyboard settings, and custom lighting. I believe this is the future of keyboard softwares. The ability to share and apply macros and designs made by a community of thousands of Epomaker users is a huge plus that I've never thought would add value to the next generation of keyboards. Did I miss anything in this review? Have you got questions? Comment down below. By the way, I also reviewed the Shadow S also from Epomaker, so just access that somewhere around this frame. And don't forget to not subscribe.